In this thin hour before daybreak, you feel the knot of problems you cannot mend, and you wonder whether you must keep carrying what refuses to change. The hush is deep, yet the horizon warms with first light, a gentle summons to draw near and be known. Here you remember the Holy One who shelters you and steadies your steps, whose mercy outlasts the longest night. You can set down the lists and the half-built plans and choose surrender over strain. You are invited to place your burdens where they belong, beneath a mighty hand that does not fail. This is the moment to trust more than you tremble, to listen for wisdom in the soft breeze and first birdsong. The aim is simple: release, receive, and be ready to serve the good that God unfolds today. 1 Peter 5:7. You are not asked to repair what lies beyond your reach. You are asked to entrust it to faithful care. Casting is a deliberate act of confidence, not collapse. Love holds what you place there. What specifically do you hand over now, and what desire do you bring into His light so He may shape it? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into. You wake into the pale wash of morning and meet the truth you kept trying to outrun in yesterday's noise. You tried angles, arguments, schedules, and strategies. You pushed the same stone up the same hill and called it persistence. Yet here, at the edge of sunrise, you are invited to name what will not yield to your effort, not because you failed, but because you are loved by one who is not limited by your limits. You breathe in cool air and let the raw admission rise. This relationship you cannot fix by willpower. This diagnosis you cannot reverse by worry. This gap in resources you cannot bridge by sleeplessness. Honest yielding is not quitting. It is choosing where to place confidence. You let your shoulders drop, as if someone gently removed a heavy pack you forgot you wore. You picture your hands, always gripping, now uncurling until your palms face upward. You whisper what is true. You cannot mend another heart. You cannot rewrite a history. You cannot control outcomes that belong to tomorrow. You can choose integrity today. You can choose kindness. You can choose to make space for grace. The first light along the horizon becomes a quiet teacher, showing you how the earth receives the day without grasping, how the field opens to do without panic. You follow that lesson and release what is beyond your stewardship. Now you practice a simple prayer of letting go. You say the name of the person who keeps you awake and entrust that story to divine care. You say the title of the project that refuses to move and lay it down like a tool at evening, trusting it will be lifted in due time by stronger hands. You name the fear you kept hidden beneath business and place it, like a stone, at the foot of mercy. Your breathing sets a cadence. On the inhale, yours. On the exhale, not mine. The sparrows begin their chorus, and you allow their song to carry what your lips cannot quite form into words. Surrender has shape. It looks like choosing truth over pretense, boundaries over rescuing, patience over frantic fixing. It looks like a phone call to apologize for your part without attempting to manage someone else's response. It looks like sending an email that clarifies, then leaving the inbox to rest. It looks like scheduling an appointment with a counselor or a doctor, acknowledging that wisdom often arrives through human help. It looks like canceling what drains courage and committing to what nourishes faithfulness. You are not absolving yourself of responsibility. You are aligning responsibility with what is actually yours. The old reflex will return. You will feel the urge to grab everything back when anxiety stirs. Anticipate it and prepare a counter move. When rumination climbs, you will pause. Step outside if you can. Let the dawn breeze touch your face and repeat your practice open hands, named reality, entrusted outcome. When the mind demands proof, you will remember that trust matures over hours and days, like light moving across a field. When discouragement whispers that nothing is happening, you will look for small mercies, an unexpected message, a gentler tone in your own voice, a next step you could not see yesterday. You will measure progress not by the speed of outcomes, but by the steadiness of your consent. So you stand here, unmasked and unhurried, and you give over the pieces that cut your palms. You ask for courage to act where it is yours to act, and for humility to stop where control ends. You agree to participate in healing without pretending to be the healer. As the sun lifts, you notice that release has room in it. Room for quiet joy, room for clarity, room for strength you did not know you had because your hands were full of worry. You step into the day lighter, not because everything is solved, but because you are no longer carrying what belongs in God's keeping. This is your honest surrender, and in it your soul can breathe. You come to the threshold of morning, carrying more than sleep could loosen, a satchel of cares that tug at your shoulder and your thoughts. The air is gentle, the window pale with first color, and you sense an invitation to kneel in the quiet and place that pack where mercy meets earth. At his feet, you set down the lists, the unresolved conversations, the you do not know how to name. You breathe and feel the weight move from your spine to the floor. And in the shift you remember that letting go is consent, not collapse. You are choosing an altar over an argument, presence over panic, dependence over the myth of control. As light edges the leaves outside, you allow your heart to settle like silt in clear water. Now you take each concern in turn, as if it were a stone collected along a long road. For family tension, you shape a sentence of blessing and put it beside the others. For medical uncertainty, you ask for compassionate skill and set the report like a folded letter before the throne. For finances, you open your clenched hand and picture seed in good soil, tended by wiser timing than your hurry. When your mind tries to snatch everything back, you gently refocus on the robin singing in the hedge and let its ordinary courage steady you. You keep naming, you keep setting, until the floor before you looks like a small mosaic of entrusted things. A fearful voice argues, if you lay this down, who will keep it from breaking? You answer with an older promise, not you alone. You speak this passage aloud, like a key turning in a lock. Cast your burden on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved. Psalm 55:2. You are upheld by more than grit. You are supported by steadfast care. Sustaining does not always change the circumstance immediately. It strengthens you within it. Stability is a gift received when you put your load where it belongs. This yielding is active, not passive. You listen for a small instruction for today and obey it without fretting over the rest. Maybe you send a note of kindness and step back, or schedule the appointment and refuse spirals of speculation. Maybe you prepare a simple breakfast and eat without screens, honoring your body as part of your stewardship. The sky brightens, and you decide to walk 10 minutes before work, letting motion pray for you when words feel thin. You are cooperating with grace, doing the next faithful task while leaving outcomes in stronger hands. Because the world will tug again, you choose anchors you can return to in a minute: a breath prayer, a small cross on paper, a whispered "yours" over your tasks. When anxiety spikes, you unclench your fingers and imagine putting the latest worry at his feet again. At midday, you pause, close your eyes, and picture that floor of mercy scattered with tokens you no longer carry. In the evening, you review. And if you notice you picked something up, you set it down once more, calmly, deliberately, confident that relinquishment can be learned like any holy habit. You stand beneath a sky brightening by degrees, and the hush carries a single assurance: you are held by strength that never wearies. You spent long hours wrestling outcomes, as if the world hung on your shoulders. Now you shift that weight to the one whose arm does not fail. Morning wind threads the trees, and you sense a covering, not like a lid that smothers, but like wings that shelter. Under holy authority you bow, not in defeat, but in consent to a wiser rule. Here you learn to rest under a mighty hand that both shelters and steers, a grip strong enough to lift worry, yet gentle enough to guide a single step. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So Isaiah 4:1. You are not abandoned in the thin places. Presence accompanies you into your next decision. Support is more than a feeling. It is a promise grounded in character. The same right hand that painted sunrise steadies your stride. You picture a sure grip closing around what kept slipping from your fingers. Deadlines, diagnoses, drifting relationships. You see heavy doors inch, because a greater force leans where your push could not. You remember waters that once flooded your imagination with dread, and you watch the current part just enough for a path. You do not pretend the river has vanished. You move because a faithful guide walks beside you, bearing what you cannot. The anxious monologue inside you, always forecasting collapse, loses volume, replaced by a steadier line: upheld, helped, strengthened. Now you align your day with this power. You start by admitting where you feel fragile, setting those tender places in the open instead of hiding them. You adjust your pace to match wisdom rather than alarm. Before you send the message or step into the meeting, you pause and say, "Uphold me." Then you speak with clarity trimmed of urgency. You listen longer than is natural, and you resist the impulse to manage responses. When you forget and slip back into controlling, you return to the same practice: a full breath, open palms, a quiet into your hands. Tiny rituals become rails that keep you steady. 3 slow inhales at noon, a brief walk at dusk, a sentence of blessing over the name that stings. Strength in these hands is never reckless. It does not crush bruised reeds or snuff smoldering wicks. It steadies and sets in place. You have known force that intimidates. This is different. This is authority that lifts the weary and stills storms at the right time. The proof is not only in parted seas and shut lions' mouths. It is in the quiet resilience forming in you today. the capacity to absorb a sharp word and answer with measured grace, the discernment to defer a choice until counsel confirms it. Under righteous power, courage stops being a performance and becomes a posture. Step outside if you can, feel the ground firm beneath your soles, and let your stance mirror reality, shoulders relaxed, gaze lifted, hands open. If sorrow rises, allow tears, the Holy One does not despise them. If anger flares, name it and entrust it before it scorches what you cherish. If fatigue lingers, receive limits as guidance rather than guilt. Under everlasting arms, rest and resolve coexist. So you walk into this day not as one abandoned to chance, but as one carried, guided, and quietly emboldened by God's mighty hand. You notice how early worries wake before your alarm. Thoughts that race, images that predict collapse, scenarios that stretch longer than the horizon. In the cool hush, you choose a different stance. You slow your breathing until your chest loosens, and you picture the sunrise moving across rooftops, touching everything it meets without strain. You are not required to stare at threats until they grow larger. You are invited to fix your attention on faithful presence that does not flicker. Courage begins here, in this quiet where you stop rehearsing failure and start remembering steady care. You speak gently to your own soul. Today you will live beneath protection, you will act with clarity, and you will let unnecessary dread pass like fog before heat. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 56:3. You are allowed to feel what you feel and still choose reliance. Fear signals vulnerability. It does not have to rule your next move. Confidence grows when you place your concern in hands stronger than your own. You practice that placement with rhythms that anchor your insides. You keep your phone face down for a few extra minutes and read a few lines of hope instead of scanning headlines built to startle. You name what could go wrong once, then you release the loop that tries to replay it 100 times. You decide how you will show up, measured tone, honest words, willingness to learn. Before the difficult call, you step near a window, watch a bird land and lift, and let that small steadiness become your cue to speak plainly without bracing for every possible response. Your aim is not to feel nothing. Your aim is to be governed by love rather than alarm. You reframe the day by identifying what belongs to your care and what does not. Results, other people's choices, and tomorrow's unknowns are not your assignment. Faithfulness in your next action, integrity in your words, patience in your pace, these are within your reach. You commit to them, one scene at a time. When an anxious surge rises, you notice it without shame. Place a hand over your heart and breathe a sentence. Near me, guide me. You picture your steps like stones across a stream. You only need the next one. The river is real, but so is the path and the one walking beside you. You also tend your body because frazzled nerves lie loudly. You drink water, eat something simple, and if possible, let the fresh air touch your face. Movement settles agitation. A 5-minute walk can return reason to its seat. You reduce inputs that spike your startle reflex and increase moments that strengthen inner steadiness. A short prayer at your desk, a single verse you carry in your pocket, a line of gratitude whispered while washing a cup. You treat uncertainty as a hallway, not a prison. And you keep walking forward with measured steps, greeting the people you pass with a kindness that makes room for them to breathe as well. When night shadows try to visit you in daylight, you answer with a practice of recollection. You list 3 ways you have been carried before. Times a path opened, kindness arrived, or clarity formed where fog once lived. Memory becomes a lantern for this hour. You refuse the lie that you are alone. You decline the script that says panic is the only honest response. You accept limits as guidance, not as doom. And as the morning ripens, you discover that reliance without dread is not a mood you must manufacture. It is a gift you receive, again and again, every time you set your gaze on the one who steadies your breath and directs your way. You stand at the threshold of a new day and feel many directions tug at your sleeve. Messages blink, memories stir, and options braid into hesitation. In this early hush, you invite guidance older than your worry and steadier than your mood. You quiet the quick fix and ask for a lantern for the next few steps, not a floodlight for the whole road. You notice the breeze at the curtain and mirror, that soft motion within, receptive, attentive, ready to follow what is true and good. You release the urge to predict every outcome and keep a simple posture. Open hands, steady breath, willing heart. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So James 1:5, you are not scolded for uncertainty, you are met with generosity. Asking is not a last resort, it is the doorway to clarity. Provision arrives in timing that teaches reliance. You begin by naming today's few crucial scenes and praying over them one by one. You ask for insight clean of anxiety static and courage free of bravado. You hold your calendar loosely and listen for a simple directive call. Postpone, proceed, or release. When inner noise returns, you pause again, breathe slowly, and choose patience over hurry. Then you take the smallest obedient step and let confirmation meet you along the way. An alignment, a timely word, a settled sense that you are moving with purpose. You treat uncertainty like fog that thins as you walk, not like a wall that forbids movement. You also test impressions, so you are not steered by impulse disguised as direction. You measure the nudge against what you know of Jesus away. Humble, peaceable, considerate, sincere. You check your motive. Is this to serve love or to salvage image? You ask a seasoned friend for perspective and welcome correction that shields you from blind corners. If circumstances close, you do not force them. If a door opens that fits calling and character, you step through without dramatics. You keep your tone measured and your plans revisable. True guidance does not rush you or flatter your ego. It steadies you to act with integrity. Because your senses shape discernment, you steward them kindly. You limit inputs that scatter focus and choose a few voices you trust. You let creation tutor you. The sparrow gathers one twig at a time. The stream takes the channel available. The sun keeps its path from east to west. You imitate that steady cadence. Before major choices, you sleep on them if possible. Fatigue distorts perception. You nourish your body so your reasoning has a solid chair to sit in. You create small pockets of quiet, 3 breaths before replying, 5 minutes of stillness at midday, a short walk at dusk. Use simple practices to stay aligned. Keep a small card with 2 questions. What is faithful here? And what is loving here? Review them before calls, in hallways, at crosswalks. At lunch, journal 3 lines. What was unclear? What seemed guided? What still needs light? In the evening, reflect without scolding yourself. Note where you followed a good nudge and where you grabbed control again. You end the review by giving the day back to God and resting under care that continues while you sleep. By choosing attentiveness over frenzy, you become receptive to direction that threads through ordinary hours. A sentence forms at the sink. A name rises on your walk. A solution arrives once you stop pushing. You rise into a world already stirring. Engines hum, kettles breathe. Small conversations begin. And you remember why you were given breath this hour, not to clutch outcomes, but to become a conduit of care. You carry what you gathered in the quiet, and you step out as one entrusted. The path need not be dramatic. It is stitched from ordinary scenes where kindness chooses to show up on time. You do not wait until everything feels repaired to begin offering good. You move as a messenger of consolation, a neighbor to the nearest need. You hold space for others to breathe, and you practice the art of noticing who is heavy, who is hurried, who could use a steady word. Let your light so shine before others that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So Matthew 5:5, you are not the source of radiance. You are a lamp set where it can be useful. Deeds do more than solve problems. They point beyond you to faithful generosity. Visibility here is not self-promotion, it is clarity that enables gratitude to rise. Now you let this commission take shape. In your home, you choose a gentle word where sharpness once lived, and you mend a small habit that frayed connection. On the street, you make room for another pace, opening a door, yielding your spot, greeting a stranger with genuine warmth. At work, you labor with integrity, careful with facts, punctual with promises, generous with credit. You notice overlooked tasks and lift them without complaint. You answer questions with patience that calms other people's nerves, and you keep confidences so trust can grow. You welcome feedback like rain that helps your effort take root. Service also knows boundaries because love remains wise. You resist rescuing that props up dysfunction and instead offer presence that empowers. You ask, what would truly help? And listen until the answer surfaces. You bring what you can, time, skill, attention, and you do not offer what harms your soul or enables harm in another. You partner with others, trusting that shared effort multiplies good. You pray quietly as you move, not with many words, but with a continual inner leaning that says, guide me here. You let outcomes rest while you keep fidelity in your part. Along the way, gratitude keeps you supple. You thank the one who gave you strength to show up, the colleague who carried part of the weight, and the neighbor whose kindness eased a knot in your afternoon. You record small mercies so you do not miss how often provision met you. An idea at the sink, the right phrase in a tense meeting, the unexpected break that let you breathe. If fatigue gathers, you pause and receive replenishment. Water, a stretch, a moment at the window. You remember that you are not machinery, you are a beloved servant learning sustainable rhythms. As the morning widens, you accept your sending anew. You are here to translate mercy into motion. Today you will speak truth without harshness, correct error without contempt. Lift a corner of someone's burden and notice beauty others pass by. You will choose presence over hurried distraction and substance over spectacle. You will let light fall on your task until it reflects beyond the task, toward hope. And when the day ends, you will give it back, trusting that seeds sown in quiet ground will rise in their season. You go out held by grace, and you come home to the same grace. Take a final breath before you step into the day. Name one task you can do with gentleness, one person you can bless without fanfare, and one care you will not pick up again. Picture your open hands and welcome strength to fill them for what is truly yours. Remember the promise: light shines through simple faithfulness. Walk at a human pace, notice a leaf, a face, grace. When worry knocks, return to surrender and breathe peace back in. You are sent in love, sustained in love, and returned in love. Hold a quiet moment now.